Hello, I'm William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and in this video I'd like to talk a little bit to families about the topic of classical Catholic homeschool co-op and what's possible in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. In God's providence, this topic has been knocking on the door, and I've been receiving contact after contact asking questions about homeschool co-op opportunities, and even in the town where I live, a homeschool co-op that offers classical Catholic studies is really necessary. And so it's of both professional and personal interest to me, and I'd like to talk about what my plans are to not only start a homeschool co-op in my own town where my family lives, but also to make it possible and rewarding for Catholic families to start classical Catholic homeschool co-ops in their own towns and neighborhoods. Now, the obvious benefit of a homeschool co-op is that it provides both parents and children with some fellowship, which is encouraging and helpful in the work of education. There's no question that if we had a choice to study alone or to study with other like-minded families, and we had to pick one, obviously the second choice would be better. Unfortunately, there are times when we have to choose to study alone because the curriculum is an objective reality, and we have to pursue the truth. But if we have the opportunity to participate in a group like a homeschooling co-op where we can pursue true studies with the support and encouragement of like-minded families, that's the best option. So it's going to be very unlikely that any such group already exists, and I know that there are Catholic groups that call themselves classical and do these things, but I'm talking about real classical Catholic studies. I'm talking about the actual system of education that was developed and taught by wise men and saints. I'm not talking about Dorothy Sayers stuff. I'm not talking about design your own classical curriculum stuff. I'm not talking about great books education and all of these counterfeits of the historic Catholic study program. I'm talking about real classical Catholic education. Now, for the past 15 years, I haven't given any attention to the implementation of the classical Catholic curriculum because there's been so much work necessary to simply do the work of researching and restoring what's been lost. It just hasn't been a priority to try and implement it. We worked to offer some boarding school options a few years back when my own kids were coming up, and I felt that they needed that kind of opportunity and support. But we've never sought to promote any kind of social implementation of classical Catholic studies. It just hasn't been a priority for us, whereas other programs actually started with efforts to promote community activities and groups even before they did any research and learned what real Catholic education is about. So I think that the choice that we made to pursue the research and do the work of restoration over time will prove to have been a wiser course of action, but I understand at the same time that it would be beneficial for many families if we could organize and support the development of classical Catholic homeschool co-ops where the members use the resources and services of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy and also study together in their own local groups. So I'm going to be doing a few things to try and get this started and help interested homeschool parents to get this started. And I'm going to lean on homeschool parents because I know that there are many Catholic homeschooling mothers, usually mothers, who do these things, who are very good at organizing groups. They've got great social skills. They may have had experience in business doing this kind of work. They're very hospitable, very friendly, very helpful, generous and sacrificial, hardworking, and they're motivated by their concern for their own children's benefits. I know these women are out there because I've worked with these women. I've experienced the good things that these women can do, and I know that these programs depend entirely on this kind of woman taking this initiative and working with it. And these women will produce groups and activities and will organize things that are far better than anything that I could organize and sort of recommend from the office out to these groups. These groups are local. They're going to have a local personality. They're going to be arranged in different communities, different neighborhoods, different socioeconomic groups, and so on, and they're all going to be different. And so they need to be allowed to develop locally. And I trust that over time, talented, motivated women, and I say women only because women are usually the ones directing homeschool activities. They usually have supportive husbands, so it's never a woman by herself. Usually it's a woman acting with her husband who's busy working, supporting her as she does that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer some benefits for homeschooling parents who are interested in starting homeschool co-ops. I'm also going to offer some training and support to help them get started. As for the benefits, first of all, what I've done is create an application for anyone who's interested in being a classical Catholic homeschool co-op leader who would promote the classical liberal arts, promote classical Catholic studies, make use of our resources and services, and bring them into their communities as a representative of classical Catholic education. There's an application that needs to be completed in order to become a co-op leader that we would recognize and recommend and support on the Academy website, in our newsletters, on social media, and all of our own communication media. So that application is very simple. It asks for some personal information. It asks a list of qualifying questions that are meant to help a parent who's thinking about doing this discern whether this might be something that he or she can do. And then a couple boxes with some questions so that we can get an idea of whether you are considering this with some understanding or this is just, a shot in the dark. I'm not concerned that any parent is some kind of expert in classical Catholic studies. After all, a group leader can always rely on us to participate in their groups, help with their groups, and so on. So all of our resources will be theirs. I'm not looking for experts in classical studies out there. But what I'm looking to see is that parents have the right motives for this work. I'm looking to see that they're actually engaged with the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. They're learning about classical Catholic education. They're reading the book that we published, Understanding Classical Catholic Education. They're taking advantage of the tutor training course that I've opened up recently. They've got kids enrolled in courses. I'm looking to see that we don't just have desperate people trying to, find jobs in Catholic education. No one has any need of that kind of stuff. But I am looking to see that a parent is engaged with the Academy, is studying and growing in understanding of classical Catholic education, and then has the personal skills that will be needed to realistically organize and lead a homeschool co-op. There are some skills, some gifts that a person has to have, and I ask some questions to try to help discern whether a parent has those things. So that application can be found on a page that I'm using to publish information about co-ops. If you go to classicalliberarts.com/co-op, it's C-O-op, co-op, with a dash in the middle. That'll be the central place for this information. There's a link at the top of the page for the application. And again, that's just to get a process started where we begin talking, sharing plans, sharing thoughts, talking about your local needs and what you think could be done there, and then working together to get an interested and well-intentioned parent the support, the training, the resources that he or she needs to get rolling and succeed in this. So that's the application part, and we're pledged to support anyone who wants to do that. Now, as for benefits, I receive benefits from anyone doing this work. The Academy benefits. All of the students of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy will benefit when parents organize local homeschool co-ops. So I want to reward parents who take up this work and are willing to do this. And there's two important benefits that I'd like to offer that I think will make it worthwhile. First of all, any parent, any leader of an active and developing homeschool co-op, so it's got to be active, it's got to be growing, there has to be new members being added and things like that. Any leader of an active and developing co-op will receive free enrollment in our premium family plan in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. So by organizing and leading a Classical Catholic homeschool co-op, the leader's family will have our highest level of enrollment in the Academy at no cost. That's the premium family plan. So that's the first benefit, free enrollment for a group leader's family. Secondly, as a co-op leader works to help other families make curriculum decisions and get started with classical Catholic studies, many of those families are going to need to enroll in online courses in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. That's how it benefits me personally. It supports our work, allows me to do what I do, and supports all of the resources that are used by all students in the Academy. So we benefit from it, and I want to offer a reward of a commission, a 20% commission on all course enrollments that are received from any homeschool co-op. That 20% commission will go to the leader of that co-op. So free premium family plan enrollment, which is worth $250 a month, and secondly, a 20% commission on all course enrollments that come from that leader's homeschool co-op will be the two principal benefits, materially speaking, that are received by any person who develops an active and developing homeschool co-op group. In addition to that, they'll have direct access to the office here for support. I'll provide continued training in the form of videos where I take up topics that are addressed to homeschool co-op leaders to help them with questions I receive or observations I make in my own work. And then continued support. They'll always have direct access to us for help with their groups, for help putting together promotional materials, for advertising for their group. All of our resources online, social media accounts, website, newsletters, YouTube channel, etc., will be available for any announcements that they'd like to make and things like that. So we'll support them in their work and provide practical advice for how to go about promoting things and stuff like that. So all of those benefits will be offered to anyone willing to undertake this work of establishing and managing a local classical Catholic homeschool co-op. Now, for some general advice, I'd like to throw something out that you probably wouldn't expect from me, because you think of classical studies, Catholic studies, and so on, and we don't talk practically very much, but there's one author. If you're thinking about starting a homeschool co-op, there's a secular author that I'd like to recommend to you, and I'll explain why. There's an expert in marketing whose name is Seth Godin. Seth, S-E-T-H, Godin, G-O-D-I-N. Seth Godin. He's a bald guy with orange glasses. If you look him up on the internet, you'll quickly find him. He's very popular. But Seth Godin is a Jewish man, and he's got a very interesting perspective on marketing. Most of us think of marketing as just, selfish, money-seeking advertising and things like that. But Seth Godin explains that that's really not what marketing is. Marketing is the means by which we seek to change things in the world. Marketing is the means by which we disrupt the status quo and introduce change for the better, change that we want to help bring about. And he really explains that we need to understand that all of the principles of marketing, all of the wisdom that's been developed in the profession of marketing, if we take that wisdom and we apply it to good activities that we want to promote, good changes that we want to bring about, we'll see that art of marketing becomes very, very useful in helping us to bring about change in our society. And I really want to challenge anyone interested in the work of organizing a homeschool co-op to understand that it really is a central apostolate or outworking of the mission of the Catholic Church, which is to go into the world and make disciples or students. Go into the world and make students. And this work of bringing classical Catholic education to your community is really an extraordinary work. My wife and I recently joined the lay Dominicans and were received into the Third Order of St. Dominic. And we presented the vision that we have for the promotion of classical Catholic education as our apostolate, which is part of the vocation to the Dominican order. And it was enthusiastically received by the Dominicans. And I think that Catholics need to understand that this work of organizing a homeschool co-op, helping young Catholic families to learn about classical Catholic education, supporting the education of other Catholic children, this is real Catholic missionary work or apostolic work. This is real Catholic work. And what's so wonderful about it, in my opinion, is that parents can find a way. If they're shrewd and they work hard at this, they can find a way to both do good Catholic work and earn some income, or at least enough resources to support the doing of that work, and have a real meaningful mission in their adult lives as Catholics. So I want to encourage you, if you're considering that, it's much more than an opportunity maybe to make some pocket money or save on enrollment. I mean, those are great benefits, but the real motive for this work should be that you as a Catholic want to have a mission to devote yourself to as an adult and have something to live and work for. Not just the education of your own children. That's great. That's important. You know that I'm in that with you as a homeschooling father. But like Aristotle says in Ethics, which would be better, to successfully educate one person or to successfully educate a group of people? And the answer is, again, to successfully educate a group of people. And to think of the benefits that such a group will bring to your children. I always encourage my wife in this because she struggles with this idea at times. Sometimes she feels like she should devote all of her attention to our children. And I say, look, that's true, but there's also things that you can do that would benefit others and benefit our children. And as many things as we could do in that way, we should seek to do in that way, because we're not responsible just for our own children. We're responsible for all of our neighbors and brothers and sisters in Christ together. So if there are things that we can do that can benefit our own children and also benefit others, or bring new benefits to our children that they really need, like Catholic friendships and social activities and support and collaboration in their studies, then we should consider those as an important part of our Christian work. So I want to encourage parents to consider this, to realize what a challenge it is and what an important work it is and can be to bring real classical Catholic education, the real system of education that was established by wise men and saints in history, into your communities, into your Catholic circles, and help families enjoy that education. It's really a great work for homeschool families who often feel isolated or separated. It's a great opportunity, and all the resources we have in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy will be at your disposal. Our personal help in your group will be available. If in the future we can organize events where we can visit and help with face-to-face meetings at your group, I'd love to do that. We actually used to do that back in 2009 or so. We used to have informational meetings with homeschool groups and do that sort of thing. Everything that we have will be available to help you with these groups, and there will also be benefits available to you as a group leader if you're able to get it done. So if you're interested, go to that page on the Academy website, classicalliberalarts.com/co-op, and it's C-O-O-P, co-op. And there you'll find some information. You'll find my thoughts about homeschool co-op development, and you'll also find a link to that application if you're interested in pursuing this. So I'm listening to the knocking on the door or reading the writing on the wall. I've heard this topic brought up again and again and again in recent weeks, and I'm willing to do my part. If you're interested and would like to get started with this, either submit that application or just get in touch and we can talk about it a little bit more. I hope that's helpful. God bless your families.